Hello, everybody, and welcome to the July edition of The Big Review. My name is Eric Young. I'm the CEO and creative director of EYStudios. We're an elite business partner with Big Commerce, which means we do a lot of business with Big Commerce, which is the way we like it. We're also the reigning champs. We're the Big Commerce Partner of the Year. Very honored to receive that. We're honored to have you guys with us as well. We know everybody's very busy. We've got a really great show for you today. I want to introduce my partner in crime over at Big Commerce, Evan Perkins. Evan, are you there?
I am here, Eric. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. I can hear you fine. And Evan, thank you for making time for us today. And we've got three really good sites to review, lots of great potential. And I know you'll add a lot of good insight from your background, obviously, at Big Commerce. And just going into the sites, any kind of opening thoughts, Evan, as we prepare to go in?
Yeah, I'm excited for the collection of sites this time. I think we've got quite a bit of variety. There's some direct to consumer, there's some B2B. From the outset, I think we'll have a lot of content to cover. I'm excited to be here.
Very good. All right. So let's talk about what to expect. We had several sites that volunteered to be reviewed. And keep in mind, these are not meant to be full reviews. So for the sake of time, we're going to point out as much as we can within the time allotted. We'll hit the top elements, you might say, but this is not meant to be a full review. And if we don't get to review your site today, we're going to reach out and offer a one-on-one site review. You know, Evan, a lot of folks just kind of want to do that. They don't want to be on the webinar for everybody to see everything, and they just want a private one-on-one review. And I know you've done that as well. With clients and prospects over at Big Commerce. A lot of things can come out of those calls, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting to me how many things people, believe maybe are harder to achieve than they, than the reality is, right? I see that a lot of times too with folks migrating from older e-commerce platforms, technology stacks. There are some things that kind of blow them away that we feel are just very table stakes type of functionality.
Yeah, well said. That's exactly right. Evan, can you see nuts and nuts on your screen right there?
Yep, it's popping up for me.
Very good. Well, let's get right into it. I had my team, Evan, call the owners and just kind of get the skinny of what the business is about. It's a female-owned business. It's run by a few sisters and a friend of theirs. The thing that's cool about this business, Evan, is that they source their nuts from Indonesia and they use their grandmother's recipe. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, that's very cool. I like that.
It's a really good personal angle, and we're going to be talking a little bit maybe how to exploit that more effectively on the store. As far as their clientele, Evan, they cater to hotel mini bars, breweries. And, as far as the website, they really want to make it their main source of income because they've had a loss in sales from some of their main clientele. So they're looking for ways that they can maximize conversions on the store. So keep that in mind. Right now, they're using a Big Commerce template. Maybe you can speak to the pros and cons of using those, Evan. And like I mentioned, they've got a really fascinating story, very personal story. We'll go to their About Us page here in just a bit, just kind of touch on what they're currently using. We've got a path all the way through the site that we'll critique. But let's look at this homepage and the navigation up front. Evan, one of the first things on the header is, the site is called Nuts and Nuts. And I was talking to my lead designer, JT Hammond. I wanted to get his take on the logo. And you've got the nuts plus nuts right there. What are your thoughts on that, Evan? The name of the site is Nuts and Nuts, but it's got the plus. Does that throw you off, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think using the little and symbol would be helpful there. I think the green too. I mean, it's complementary with the brown, but it's a little tough to see. Just from the get-go. So certainly think you could tune that up a little bit.
Right. The name of the site is actually nuts+nuts.com. And JT and I were saying that sometimes the plus symbol actually reads as an and. And believe it or not, Evan, we checked, and nutsandnuts.com is available as well. And so you get that for $12. It's a pretty good URL. But the name of the site is nuts+nuts.com. But even, I got a little bit confused there, but it's easy to do when you see that, right? And so I always tell my designers, Evan, that it's better to be clear than clever, and so you got to be very careful about the use of symbology and logos. The other thing too, I want to point out something I like about the logo is the slogan where it says farm direct nuts from around the world. I like that because it's very succinct. It talks about what we call the USP, the unique selling proposition, what's so cool about the site. The problem with the execution here is it's very small. And I think because this is so special about their brand, it really needs to be front and center. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a great call out. It's nice to include in the logo just because it's more ubiquitous throughout the site. But to your point, that's really what I'm sure these their main clientele, these bars, breweries, hotels, that's what they're buying, right? It's not just the pack of planters that we can all get in the grocery store. So it'd be great to put that a little more front and center.
Exactly right. So let's talk about the navigation. One thing to keep in mind is they don't have a ton of products, which is just fine. But we need to be thinking about the use of shop all, and then there are two main nut types, which are almonds and cashews. And Evan, if you're like me, when I see a shop all, that typically needs to be the main type of usability. In other words, if you see a shop products, everything should be condensed under that, and it is. But when you also have almonds and cashews, to me, it kind of undercuts the effectiveness of the shop all. So in other words, I would do one or the other. I would have either a shop all or just almonds and cashews. But I personally would lean more to getting rid of the shop all and keeping exclusively almonds and cashews. Do you agree? Do you see it the other way? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, in some cases, the shop all is nice if you have an exceptionally large catalog, and if you're doing things like using, our faceted filtered search, you're taking a good care to use options and option sets to organize things well. But I think in this case, definitely agree with you because it's not a large catalog. You could probably cut that out. You've got almonds, cashews. I like the gifts option as well because that's more of a specific buying path. So yeah, I tend to agree with you there.
So moving on down the page, they've got some really good imagery here on the scroller. Anybody that's attended a big review in the past knows that I'm not a big fan of the scroller. Anything that moves without the user's acknowledgement can be distracting. And sometimes the use of a scroller or rotators, different names attached, can work against you. With this, it's particularly troubling because there's no content, right? There's no wording on the scroller or rotator. Interesting imagery, and as I'm seeing the trees and everything, on the positive side, it gives a sense of authenticity. The fact that these nuts are from Indonesia, you get that sense, right? That sense of locality by looking at the imagery. But what I would recommend is using this imagery more strategically, either on the About Us page or maybe further down the page, so that the focus can be exclusively up front on the products themselves. So in other words, we still want to have that narrative about the branding, but let's be real clear about what happens up front. And I think there's a lack of clarity with this rotator, and I don't believe it's even clickable, if I'm not mistaken, on some of that. But what are your thoughts on the very top part, Evan?
Yeah, I agree. The hero image or carousel or whatever you want to call it, I've seen it used effectively in some cases. Tend to agree with you though. It can be a distraction. It takes up a lot of real estate on the screen. I haven't looked at this site on a mobile device. Assume it's optimized, and resizing for mobile. But yeah, without these being clickable, they're just pictures, and then with no text, maybe you don't know what you're looking at. I get the point. I get what they're trying to do, but agree with you. We could have some of these maybe in an About Us section or a blog, or just do something else, or at least make them interactive and a little more informative with adding some text.
Right. And because that's a good point, Evan, and because there's not a lot of product there, as we scroll a little bit further down the homepage, we see the featured products. which is fine. But to me, because there's not a lot, I would give a little bit more oomph, more personality to these ads versus just putting thumbnails, right? Because there's not a
Mm-hmm.
lot of product there. You can actually create ads, for example, out of the chili lime leaves or the squirrel nut box and things like that, just to give it a little bit more panache for the homepage, just a little bit more love, particularly because you're selling food, right? I mean, the merchandising food almost requires that versus just a list of featured products. What do you think, Evan?
Yeah, totally agree. It'd be cool to see at least utilize that carousel with, cool gift options.
Right.
You could change those out with upcoming events, or maybe showcase a client, a hotel or a brewery that has purchased these, get some images from there. Just give people an idea. To your point, the merchandising piece is really big, especially in the food category. So probably some good opportunities here to help create a buying path.
Right. I want to go further into the page. I want to check out cashews here in just a second. Before we go off the homepage, I want to mention again how this is such a great opportunity to get the personality of the brand front and center, not just the products. We need to talk about the people behind the products. I would put some photography. I'd get some of the sisters on there, Evan, and I don't know how they might feel about that. Sometimes when I talk to businesses and suggest, getting the owners or some of the people that work there get some photos on the site. It's like, well, I'm not real comfortable putting my photo out there. But you got to keep in mind, it's not about you, right? It's about making the customer feel comfortable. And there's nothing more authentic than getting the faces behind the product front and center. It's one thing that you can do. It's really two things that you can accomplish through that. One is it shows that there are real people here, right? This is a real store with real people running it. You can't underscore that enough. And secondly, it helps you differentiate from the other types of nut stores out there. There's only one of you. There's only, the personalities involved are unique. And so that just helps you differentiate. Evan, a phrase that I often say is that branding is just another word for differentiation. And anything you can do to differentiate your brand from the other guys is welcome. What do you think?
Yeah. Love that point. They've got a cool story, family owned. You could have photos. They've got old photos of, this grandmother, those types. People love it. And I do tend to think there's like two buckets of folks, right? People who would really want their picture to be online and people who really don't. But to your point, not about you. This could be a really cool story, add some personality to the brand, and help people make a real connection to the brand. And develop some affinity there. So I think it'd be, there's really a neat opportunity here to do some more showcasing of the ownership and some of the history.
Absolutely. And we just got a question asking, is this a big commerce site? And yes, it is a big commerce site. It's a big commerce template, looks like. So not a lot of customization happening here. And by the way, we appreciate the questions. If you do have any about usability, or about what's happening on the site or whatever, we welcome that. Encourage you to hit the chat box, ask us any questions. Let's go a little bit deeper. Let's go into cashews and check out a category page here. Let's go into all cashews. So Evan, when you look at the category page, what are some things that immediately pop out to you? I'll reserve comment, turn it over to you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think a lot of the products just sort of blend together a bit here, right? There's a lot of overlap. One thing that stands out to me is this assorted flavors. You've got 1.76 ounces, you've got 4 ounces. They do that across a few different products. I think if you were to, with BigCommerce, you can get really granular in how you're creating your product taxonomy. If you just had one assorted flavors product, and then within that, you could have different product options, variants to select, the size that you wanted. It could make a page like this just a little neater, a little easier to navigate, maybe, a little less confusing.
And Emma, what are your thoughts? Good points. What are your thoughts on, like, for example, the black pepper 15 ounce, which shows a photo of the product versus the product labeling? It kind of goes back and forth through this section page, a little bit of zigzag. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think on the merchandising piece, perhaps they are just trying to give you an idea of, these are the black pepper nuts are particularly good to, put in the bowl there on the table at the brewery or something. But I think consistency within product imagery is helpful when you can do it. So just having some kind of a theme or a pattern across products generally, I think, instills some confidence in shoppers that this is all sourced from the same place, it's coming from the same place, same quality of product. It'd be nice to sort of switch to that if they could get it.
Right. And I personally lean towards showing the photography versus the labeling. I'm thinking about folks that are maybe not familiar with the brand, but they know what they like. They know what looks good to them. And, those black pepper nuts look good. I mean, it's versus the labeling, you can't really tell exactly what's going on there. But let's click into a product page. Let's go to honey sesame and check that out. I think that's for a little bit further. Yeah, on that second row toward the end. There you go. All right, so honey sesame. Again, this is utilizing a BigCommerce theme. Man, those look good. I should have eaten before I did this webinar, Evan. But what are your thoughts looking at this product page? What do you think?
Yeah, again, on the product page, you've got a couple of very different types of images, right? The product itself, and then to your point, the labeling. So this is a pretty out of the box, very little customization on this particular theme. Not necessarily a bad thing, but some opportunities to probably jazz this up and brand it to match the brand a little bit. One of the things that sticks out to me, which isn't concerning, but if you didn't know BigCommerce as well, it could be, it looks like maybe this has poor ratings, or maybe it has great ratings. You can't really tell. What's going on here is there have been no ratings, there have been no reviews, and so the rating stars are just grayed out. But it's not, just at first blush, it's not super clear. Is this a highly rated or highly rated product, or does it receive low ratings? Kind of hard to tell what to do, do with that.
There's a couple of reviews, but to your point, there's no color, so it looks deactivated almost.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. I'm on the 1.76 ounce here on my screen, just looking through. Yeah, you're right. So just those are the types of things, right? It doesn't, you can completely customize a theme on BigCommerce. You can do whatever you want with it. Obviously, it would take some development chops to do certain things, but little investments like that can really help highlight some of the things that you want to call out.
Right. And let's click on the add to cart button here. So you've got some text here. Evan, I'm thinking as long as they're utilizing BigCommerce tech, that a pop-up would be beneficial to them. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, that's a good call out. I think natively with most of our templates, when you add to cart, you get that, it's a modal, pop-up, really clear what you're adding to your cart. You've got the option to proceed, directly to checkout or continue shopping or go to your cart and make edits. That would be helpful here. I've seen again, completely customizable. So I've seen merchants, instead of the pop-up, they opt for, like a banner at the top that appears or a banner on the sidebar. And doing something like that too, you also layer in another interaction point if you wanted to do, recommended products, right? Upsell, cross-sell type stuff. If the honey sesame goes particularly well with, some other variety, I think there's just a lot of options to make things a little clearer, and then introduce additional opportunities to showcase products.
Right. Well, speaking of showcasing products, I think this is a prime example of where the personality, the branding, like we talked about, behind the two sisters, that sort of thing, how this can help make you money. You can talk about what's so cool about the honey sesame. The fact that, if this is your grandmother's recipe or whatever, inject that personality on the product page, right? Because otherwise it's really in my opinion, a humongous missed opportunity. And it's also an advantage you have because you don't have hundreds or thousands of products, right? Because you have a handful of products here. then you can really focus like a laser beam on making sure every single product page is something special, whether that's a video or a graphic or just, any type of additional personality. Get creative and think about how to charm your customers. Because this thing works. It's utilizing a BigCommerce template. It gets the job done. But again, you're selling food. I always say this: when you're selling something you're going to ingest, that you're gonna eat. You got to go the extra mile. And you've got some good photography. That looks mouth-watering. But when you go the extra mile to establish trust, I think that's a better way to put it. Is that you're selling food, and people have to trust you. They have to like you and appreciate the brand. And going the extra mile with that is really going to help, Evan.
Yeah, completely agree.
Okay, let's go on to our next site, and we appreciate nuts+nuts suggesting their site for review. Hope you got some stuff out of that. Let's go on to Idea Man Incorporated. We'll start top to bottom. Actually, before I get into that, the team also had a chance to talk to the ownership there, Evan. They've been around a while. They were actually created in 1992. They are a 3D promotional magnet company. Yeah, you don't see a lot of businesses these days, particularly on e-commerce, around that long. So I think that's something special about the brand. We can talk about maybe a few ways to celebrate that when we get to the site critique. Evan, they're B2B and B2C. I know you'll have some things to share about ways that BigCommerce can add to that B2B experience. This is a BigCommerce site. I want to point that out. So the heavy B2B focus, but they do have some B2C. The custom magnets part is really the B2C portion, just to keep that in mind. So Idea Man's B2B, but they have the custom magnets portion, which is B2C. Maybe we can look for ways to differentiate both of those on the site, those two sites, kind of a family of stores, that kind of thing with the businesses. But Evan, any thoughts as we just in general before we dive into specifics?
On this site, there's kind of a lot going on in terms of this hero image. Unlike the last site, they do have some good text. I think they're doing a better job at using some of the carousel images here, but I don't think these are clickable either. And then scrolling down on the main, if you scroll down a bit on the main part of the site, they list some other like promotional magnets, attraction magnets. Some of these maybe are clickable, or the images are clickable, but the text isn't. So, just again, making it really easy to direct folks toward what they're looking to purchase, what they're looking to buy. But they've obviously got this, 2 million magnets produced in 2019. They've got some cool stats. They've obviously got the longevity. And I think there's definitely an element of fun on the site as they try to communicate those things.
Yeah, I like the messaging, but the thing that I would caution on a banner like the over 2 million magnets produced in 2019, it is a great call out, but with a graphic that big, it's prime real estate, Evan. It's like I'd rather use that space to promote either what that has to do with the current customer, right? Or maybe advertise a product. Am I wrong on that? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, and with the banner, down here, this big image, there's also, I don't think there's a footer. Oh, there is if you scroll down. But yeah, there is a lot going on. And to your point, maybe there's not 2 million magnets doesn't necessarily mean anything to me. There's a ton. The video, you've got the quotes and this image. A lot of busyness for a homepage might be a better way to sort of categorize these things. Again, maybe it's a blog post, with some history and then how production works or something like that. Maybe just trim down the homepage a bit.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think really being to the point about the narrative, if you scroll up just a bit, you see the link right there where it says not a retailer, visit our sister site, which click that's an example where I think we can be clear right there in the middle of the page, because you've got this flow going on, right? And so that kind of disengages you right there. It's not a huge element, but I think we need to be clear from that. I want to scroll back up in just a second, but before we do you see how the sticky header with the categories, you've got contact going down on that second row, but pay attention too with that logo. That's almost illegible in my opinion. I mean, the cursive is working against you. You've got blue on blue. You do have the white outline. I would suggest looking at the logo. I know I'm being very critical of logos on today's episode, but I don't know how that would be received, because I know sometimes people get really possessive about their logos and all, but I think it's working against you. I think particularly for mobile, for smaller sizes, you got to be really clear about how the typography is either working for you or against you. And I think I just wanted to point that out. Another thing about the nav, Evan, is when you look at it, scroll all the way back up if we could. With the nav, you've got a lot going on here, right? A lot of informational links. So you've got, request a quote, the about, contact. I'm a big believer, Evan, that you got to separate your product categories from your informational categories. In other words, you've got some good elements here, but it's all about the execution. It's all about the placement of where these links need to be, so that people have a very clear idea that if I want to shop, I look here. And if I need more information about you or the company or about getting a quote, I look over here. And certainly you want people to see the part of where to request a quote and that sort of thing. But see, this is where the site can actually work against you. And I don't necessarily blame the owner. I think he's just working within the constraints of the way the site was designed. But this represents something that, in my opinion, needs to be changed to flatter the specific business model behind Idea Man. What do you think, Evan?
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of, like you said, real estate being taken up here. When you scroll down and that logo moves, it can create this kind of stacked navigation. Could benefit from moving to like a mega menu model, right? So just there'd be a drop down, categorizing things a little in a cleaner way. And just not being so overwhelming with all the different things. And, there's an art and a science to that, right? Again, big commerce, you can develop relatively sophisticated data structures. We have true parent-child relationships with products and the categories and subcategories they live in. So you can take advantage of that and then style that in a way that makes it much easier to navigate, or at least simpler to navigate in how it's being presented.
Right. I want to come back to a point you made here in just a second, but I want to underscore that I love the name. I love Idea Man. There's so many branding potentials there. I'm even seeing how Idea Man is executed within that rotator, that scroller there, and that actually looks pretty cool. That kind of curvilinear, bold font. I actually like that more than the logo, about the way the Idea Man is being presented there. I think that's got some personality, and it's also legible, and you could read it at a smaller size. It's got some personality to it. But you brought up a very good point as far as the mega menus. I mean, the whole idea behind Idea Man with the magnets is the visuals, right? Is the visual aspect of what goes on the magnets. And so you're attracting just like the nut site that we just reviewed, you're in obviously a different fashion with food versus magnets, but you're still talking about a very visual type of product. And by glossing over that, I think it's hurting the usability. So if we could mouse over that top nav, kind of, scroll through that, you're seeing all these all caps links. And then the all caps, in my opinion, is working against you as well. There's all caps and mixed case, which is a combination of caps and then lowercase. That's going to help that legibility. And so, it's clear. I mean, you can read it, but it's not fun to read. It's not easy to read. And I think that if you injected some visuals, which is what we're talking about here with the mega menus, you put some thumbnails, maybe an ad or two for something that you really want to promote, that's a fantastic opportunity to aid in the ease of the usability, because the navigation is so key to what's going on here. So I think that was an excellent suggestion, Evan. I appreciate you pointing that out. Let's go into further into the site, rather. Let's go to shop by state. All right. Evan, you're in Texas, right?
I am. Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. All right. When they say keep Austin weird, they haven't thought about Evan. You know, they met Evan. They say, but so we're here in Georgia. So with apologies to Texas, I will click into Georgia. I do like the way. I mean, to me, this is an example of what I was just saying with the visuals, with because you've got such cool imagery with these products. You know, Evan, there's so many opportunities to inject more of that personality into the usability. But see, that was easy for me to use. You know, I go right into Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Let's click into the big giant state map as we look into a product page here. So this is perplexing to me. I don't know the story behind it. I don't know how to add this thing to cart, Evan. It continues. I've not seen this one before. It's got continue shopping as a button. What do you think? I don't know. Maybe I should have my team find out more if there was a story behind that. If there's a reason why they had to take that off. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, my assumption is this is the B2B site. They've got that sister site for consumer. If you want to buy onesies, twosies, but that's not super clear. So to your point, I'm at this product detail page. I have no way to add it to cart. If I am a consumer, this could cause a lot of confusion. And there appears to be no easy redirect either. Maybe they could do, hey, if you want to purchase one of these, right, head to the sister site, something like that, because it's just sort of a dead end otherwise.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It feels like a dead end, and it's not rude, but it is confusing the way it's presented here. But I will point out that with the buttons, it's a good example of where we need to change the colors. Don't go for the blue button because you've got this massive blue header, which frankly I'm not a big fan of. I think the legibility, we talked about the all caps, the white on the blue. I think that inverting that, particularly with the critique that I gave of the logo, if you need to stick with that logo, my suggestion is keep that blue logo on a white header and then make the nav dark text on a white background. I think that would help. It also helped the buttons pop out more within the usability. There's a lot of unused white space here as well, and there's something to be said about giving your eye a place to rest within the layout. But I think particularly above the scroll, Evan, we could make use of that, like some messaging, something cool about the product, the pricing, et cetera. What do you think?
Yeah, no, totally agree. And again, my thought is perhaps because this is B2B focused, although not super clear, maybe the B2B buyer cares that the SKU is GMAP, -110, but most folks aren't going to care about that. Moving the description up here, moving the categories down, right? You have to scroll down for the descriptions. The SKU's listed again. So definitely think there's a better way to use the real estate here.
Yeah, very good. So hopefully that's helped. I don't know if Idea Man is on the webinar here. We appreciate you offering your site up. Hopefully we gave you some good actionable insights to help there. And best of luck to you. You've got a great brand, lots of opportunity there. All right, let's move on to the third site that we have. I'm excited about this one. There's so much opportunity on this next one. I think I've actually seen this site in the past. I don't know if I was in the doghouse and trying to buy something for my wife to get out of that doghouse or what. I don't know. I came across this site somehow or another, but we're at bigplush.com. Evan, kick us off. What do you think about this site just in general?
Big Plush. It reminds me, I have two young kids, and so they've recently discovered America's Funniest Home Videos, which obviously has been on TV a long time. But there's a pattern that I've seen watching America's Funniest Home Videos with my kids, where people will take these giant bears, cut them open, get inside of them, and then terrify friends and family. So that's what comes to mind first. Great alternative use for the Big Plush. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Evan. Now I've got that picture in my mind, and I can't
exactly.
Now, bursting out of a big teddy bear. So thank you for that.
Right. kind of some nightmare there. Yeah, initially, kind of like the PvP on the last site, there's a lot of white space here. I like the logo, but it's kind of hard to distinguish, where am I on the product? Where's the header? The categories are just all nested within one section here. So to me, initially, there's just a little bit of confusion in terms of what I'm looking at. It's an atypical sort of layout, which as a consumer, I go, I don't know what to do with this. It's not as clear. I think it could be made a little clearer.
No, that's a good way to put it. I think one of the things from an aesthetic standpoint is that there's nothing anchoring all of these disparate elements, right? Let's keep it up at the top there. So you've got the logo, you have a lot of floating elements. You've got the categories bar, like you're talking about, the search bar, social media, and the header itself is massive. It could really benefit from editing the space. I think there's some good ideas here. I like the wide search bar. I'm talking about logos. I actually like this logo. I think it's very befitting of the product, has the personality. I'm a big fan of 3-letter branding terms, which you have the opportunity here with big. So I like the fact that they're branding big, very big. And so I like that a lot. I like the personality, but I think that the header itself almost feel like it's been exploded, so it kind of needs to be brought together more. And you mentioned the categories. Let's go ahead and hit that. I want to talk about the homepage for sure, but as we mouse over the categories, there's a lot of categories here. And as we see on this screen, because of what we just mentioned about the header, the category actually goes below the fold, which is a no-no. And so you don't want your primary nav to extend below the fold. What do you think, Evan?
Yeah, totally agree. Probably a better way to categorize things. You've got animals, but then right under it, Easter, big stuffed animals. So there's kind of too many options. Made in the USA, that's a little bit confusing. Are these all made in the USA? Are only some made in the USA? And then even the variants, color, you could just organize this a little better, use something like faceted search, have a category page, help people filter instead of give them every single thing you could possibly look at and make them go kind of dig around for it.
Yeah, well said, Evan. And, they've obviously got a lot of options, which is comforting for folks that want a lot of options. But I think from a usability standpoint, again, it could really benefit from heavy hand of editorial. What I would challenge specifically the business owners to consider is a maximum of 8 to 10 major categories with subcategories underneath that. I think that in itself would help. But even with that, we want to make sure at those main categories that there's a flow to them, right? Whether it's a few different shop by color occasions, et cetera. And then you've got product types, and we need to differentiate those accordingly. Right now, it's just kind of a hodgepodge. It's all kind of thrown together. And I think that's working against the usability. Let's mouse over before we move off the nav. Let's go, let's show one of the flyouts if we could. Let's go to the, so look at the, you've got a massive.
Oh, wow.
This thing is, again, we can't even see it all, right? So it just goes on and on and on. It's very tall. We're going to, in just a second, we're going to click on 108-inch plush bears made in the USA, but this needs some work. You've got some really, really great products here, so much opportunity here, but I would highly, highly encourage you to work on that nav to make sure that you might have some categories, but you don't, to your point, Evan, you don't have to put everything. You got to take into account that people can only absorb so much information. And so if you need to look at a view all, a shop all link that lists more, certainly do that. And again, just like we've mentioned on the previous site for the use of mega menus with visuals, oh my goodness, for a site like this that has such a huge, I guess no pun intended, pun partially intended, huge product right there, you want to get those visuals in there, right? Because there's none. You have a very personable product, but the nav couldn't be more impersonal, and we need to fix that. What do you think, Evan?
Yeah, completely agree. There's just a lot of stuff going on here. And a little nitpicky, but you know, 108-inch plush bear. I don't know. I guess to me, and I'm not the smartest guy alive, that's for sure. If you say 108-inch plush bear, 100, I can't visualize that as well as saying 9-foot bear. You know,
Right.
9 feet. I know what that means a little better than 108 inches. Our smarter viewers probably could make that connection easier. But the point being, alongside, you know, with the category page, make it as easy as possible for people to find what they're looking for.
Right.
Assume everybody's like me.
That's right. That's right. Use Evan as the lowest common denominator and kind of build
right.
my general rule.
Build a site for Evan.
Evan can figure it out, then you got it made, you know?
Then you're set. Exactly.
That's right. All right, let's go back to the homepage here. And Evan, there is a lot going on this homepage, man. They've got some interesting visuals. I do think the photography needs to be touched up a little bit. I won't go into all that right now, but you know, it's big photography for big products, you know, and that's good. But man, it just keeps going on and on. Evan, I'm gonna get that for you, brother, for appearing on this webinar. I socially distancely love you, man, and
I appreciate that.
But it goes on and on, you know. There's no rhyme or reason. It's just like this stuff's added. You've got an animated GIF. It's just it's a lot. You know, what do you think about the organization or lack thereof on the homepage?
Yeah, it's lack thereof is kind of all I think about. So it's just sort of this. You've used this phrase hodgepodge a few times of just sort of various assorted. You know, maybe these are popular products, maybe not, but kind of categorize them, organize them. Tell me if these are the most popular. In some cases, you know, people want to know what those are right away. And the homepage just goes on forever. This would be particularly difficult on a mobile device or a tablet, you know, or phone to make the way all the way down. Giant footer as well.
Yeah, it's a giant footer. So again, big plush is just very big. And to be fair to the company, there are good ideas here, right? It's talking about the personalization. Everything that they have. There's a reason behind it, right? And so I understand why they added this stuff to the homepage. And what I would say is, we don't need to delete it off the website. We just need to be thinking about, all right, these are awesome ideas. How do we execute this differently? Where does this belong, right? What needs to be on the homepage versus the footer versus the interior page? So really, I keep saying this, it just needs some editing, right? You've got some awesome ideas, great product, fantastic opportunities for branding. I would just encourage the owners just to be open to, you know, editing something out, right? But it doesn't mean to delete it off the site. Just being heavy-handed with the editorial, if you agree, Evan.
Yeah, totally agree. Some big opportunities here. But to your point, there's some, the personalization. Like they've got good content. It would just be a matter of organizing this in a, you know, maybe a little more logical way.
Absolutely. All right, so let's go into the site rather a little bit. Let's go into 108-inch plush bears made in the USA. And from the jump, Evan, we've got a massive image, not clickable. And my thing, Evan, is what if I want that bear? What if like right away it's like that's it, that's the bear that I want.
Yeah,
I can't get it. I don't like where is it? I can't click on the thing. And so it's cool. You know, it's a great photo. It's showing the size. You know, I love the personality. I mean, they've gone the extra mile. You got to hand it to them. They've gone the extra mile by doing what we recommended with the nut site, you know, getting more people in there. They've got the people here. I love that. You know, if they didn't put people in with this, that'd be a massive missed opportunity, but they're doing it, but it's working against you because it's not clickable. There's no content, and it's pushing all the content below the fold on a pretty packed page, Evan.
Yeah, for sure. You've got some of the, you know, this would be super important if you could click on this. There was an add to cart button on this photo because that might be this 9-foot bear. Oh, I realize now it's 9 feet. That's what 108 inches means. I want to get it. And really pushing all that content down, pushing the products down the page, you're just making it a little more difficult than it has to be.
Yeah, a lot of content. So now you're scrolling. You finally get to the products, Evan. I'd love to get your take on the fact that a lot of this is out of stock. So thankfully they've been selling these. You know, they're out of stock, and but on the first row there's only two that are there. And we'll click on that first pink one here in just a second. But I think that's kind of negative. What do you think, Evan, when they see out of stock, out of stock, out of stock, kind of work against you? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. If there's a way to separate out, now obviously you're sorted by best selling, so naturally those are probably going to be the ones that are the likeliest candidate to be out of stock. But coming right, when I look at this page, I just think, oh, all the good stuff's gone.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it would be important to organize this in another way. I do like that you can enter an email address and be notified when something's back in stock in case I've really got to have, you know, the 9-foot giant teddy bear that's brown versus the pink one. But you kind of get a sense of like missing out, or that you missed the boat when things are organized in this way.
Yeah. So like I said, great functionality, you know, that they're offering. I just need to think about that initial, like I said, you know, I'm missing out or whatever, because that you don't want that to work against you, because these aren't cheap. You know, they're not $20, you know, bears. You know, they're premium gifts, and so the emotion of buying this bear has got to be something that you just stringently protect. You got to think about, all right, what throughout this site, from homepage all the way to checkout, where are you at emotionally? You know, I can't emphasize that enough about the impact that emotion makes on sales, and just even the subtle elements. You know, somebody might think, well, what's the big deal? It's out of stock, whatever. But again, it's one little element that registers with the customer that could work against you with that kind of emotional makeup that we're talking about here. So let's click into a product page. Let's go to that pink one here. By the way, did you catch, Evan, where we moused over? It says choose options. Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
So I would advise against that, Evan. You know, one reason why is because of the price point, right? I can't imagine somebody just, you know, all right, I'm gonna buy this item right off the section page. I think they're gonna want to go deeper into the product page before they look at the options. Am I off base there? What do you think?
Yes. Yeah, completely agree. It's a button. You know, if I don't read it, again, design the site for an Evan to use, right? If I just click on that, then I'm presented with options. I haven't maybe gone the full way of, yes, I'm going to buy this. This looks so cool, because the product page is great in the sense that you get more excited about the product, right? They've got a lot of cool photos, you know, different visualizations of it, sort of relative to people, so you can see how big it is. But you definitely want to drive them into the PDP versus confuse them with you know, options.
Right. No, good points. And you know, once we're on the product page, this is an example of where the header is working against you. The height of the header is pushing everything down, because you've got, like I said, on Big Plush, everything's big, including what's on the product page. And so this is a prime reason why I wanted to hit that header toward the front there, because it starts reverberating through the interior of the site. So you have this massive header pushing down an already massive product page. You got to think about those things. You know, the header in this right here is almost half the height of the screen that I'm looking on, and so that's hurting you. That's costing you money. It may not seem like it's anything, but it's costing you money as we speak. And so that's something that I would absolutely address as quick as you can, because you want to get these things in here. Another way to put this too, Evan, I've been meaning to say this, is because of the product, because of the price point, the entire shopping experience should be fun. In other words, you shouldn't think too much about this, but I'm having to think a lot, right? When I'm looking at the mega menu, the enormity of that, the homepage, like you're thinking a lot. Like, what do I do? Where do I click? How much information? Am I missing something I need to know? And so at the price point involved, that's working against you. And so we need to make sure that the site feels more simplistic, more straightforward. But as you go into this product page here, the first thing I'm noticing, you can actually scroll down past the header. You know, it's a really big title. Evan. And what I would recommend is getting it out of this general buy box area. In other words, I'd move the title top left across the page, because what that's going to do is it's going to utilize more of the horizontal width available, and you're not going to have 3 rows of text at that point, right? So that automatically would save you a pretty big chunk of text just right off the jump. If you make those header edits and you move the title like we're talking about, that alone is going to help you tremendously. And then I'd follow it up exactly like what you're doing there with the reviews. I think that's good towards the top. I think that the color options and the text, all of that is pretty straightforward. I don't have a real big problem with that. I think that's pretty good. I would probably look at adding the quantity to the left of the add to cart button. That's another thing you could do to conserve height. I don't think wish list is really too dominant against the add to cart. I might not make it the same width. You need to have it within earshot right there of the add to cart, but maybe not the same size, because it's a little bit of an either or right there, which you don't want with the add to wish list. I certainly want it clear, want it to be a clear option, but not maybe right next to the add to cart. And then as we scroll down to the description area, wow, the description area is a lot. And I think that the 4 tabs, Evan, is working against it as well. I think that we don't have opportunity to pull it up on mobile right now, but I think that's an area that could be clear. I would almost recommend, Evan, as a way to maybe reimagine this description area, is in lieu of the tabs, I would go Amazon style, man. I would start stacking the description on top of the videos, on top of the warning information and Q&A. So it's all right there. You're going to be used to scrolling at that point. But for goodness sake, let's edit this description. You've got all caps. You feel like you're kind of shouting at them a little bit, and with the size, I think that kind of hurts you. So that's my take on the buy box and description area. Evan, am I missing anything there?
Yeah, just a couple of call outs as you maybe scroll back up. One thing, maybe it's because we're in e-commerce, but if I think 9 foot, 60-pound bear, I think you're going to kill me on shipping, right? The cost of shipping this thing is going to be huge. They actually offer free shipping, at least on this product. That's something to, I think, really call out. That's a huge plus as people, are kind of used to the Amazon style of gets here in 2 days, it's free, I don't have to worry about that. I think that's a big benefit. And I like that they've got this afterpay option. We've got a number of integrations with these different providers that will allow you to split payments up or pay in installments. And with a high AOV item like this, I think that's a really nice thing to offer consumers. So they're doing a great job there.
Yeah, good points. Evan, I know we're wrapping up here. I'd like to touch briefly on the checkout. So let's click add to cart, because we've got all our options selected here. So we've got the pop-up here, and we're actually utilizing the one-page checkout. I know a lot of options in that the pop-up there. Let's go to view or edit your cart. So Evan, anything about the checkout or this general area you'd like to touch on?
Yeah, again, using this optimized one-page checkout. So this is relatively updated. I think the logo isn't, at the top it could just be styled a little differently. You've got the ability to completely customize the BigCommerce checkout, right? So that could be just UI, how things look, could be functionality. So in this case, I think you've got maybe a better use of that logo. Or a better use of styling the checkout so it matches the brand. Again, it's a really fun purchase. So you could maybe dress things up a bit. You've got the option to subscribe here to the newsletter. They've got Amazon Pay turned on, which I think is great, really easy to do on BigCommerce. In some cases, that's just toggling a switch to turn those types of things on. But overall, it is a relatively fast path to purchase on this one-page checkout.
Right. Good thoughts, Evan. Well, Evan, I know you're a busy man. I appreciate you making time for us on the webinar. For anybody that, like I said, that would like their site review, that would like to do a private site review, just hit the chat. Let us know what you thought of this webinar. And if you'd like for anybody to get in touch with you for a one-on-one site review, we'll be happy to do that. Evan, any final things, any words of wisdom you want to impart to the audience today?
No, nothing too crazy here. I always love these times. I look forward to them every month, Eric. So thanks for having me. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm at evan.perkins@bigcommerce.com. If you have questions for me, please don't hesitate to reach out, connect. Would love to help you out with anything I can, regarding BigCommerce.
Very good. And that's the man to talk to. Evan knows what he's doing, and it's been around the industry a long, long time, and expert advice, as well as a lot of folks over at BigCommerce. So Evan, again, thank you for your time, and everybody that joined us, thank you for your time, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Big Review. Thank you very much.